the Supreme Court struck down New York State's concealed carry as being unconstitutional. Hochul and the Democrats went ballistic, and not only wasn't just about concealed carry, they transformed all of our gun laws, just so you know. So right now, you're in this public place. It's 50-50 whether if you're carrying, whether you're a felon or not, because I did not see a sign on the door. There has to be a sign on the door that says you can carry in this premise. So I hope you understand that. Restaurants are a lot of what they call safe places. They don't want you to carry unless there's a sign. So start with that. You either have a sign that says you can or cannot carry. That's discriminatory. That should be struck down immediately at the Supreme Court or New York State Court. There's no way a judge can come out and say that that's legal.
Is there like an official sign from New York State?
No, it just has to be that they're either welcome or they're not. Now, if there's no sign, it means they're not welcome. It's automatically inferred it's not welcome.
Last night on Fox News, they showed that Niagara County had one that showed that it looked like a cigarette banning when it was green with a net sign on.
Right.
It sounds welcome, and then so, and I know Niagara County's gonna hand those out, but probably not up here.
Niagara and Erie County, both of those clerks are conservative-minded. Even though Mickey's a Democrat, a good friend of mine, he's a very conservative person. He's transformed that office in Erie County, and he's fighting this thing tooth and nail. He kept the clerk's office open for I think it's 3 straight days till midnight, so that people could get their applications in. Because to get your concealed carry, you had to have your application in by midnight on August 31st. You understand that in New York State? Anything after, like right now, after August 31st, when the law took effect, they took all permit applications away. You can't go get a permit application and fill it out right now. And they'll throw it in the garbage. There's nothing, you can't, you bring one down, it's over. And that's for 9 months from what I'm understanding. Again, this law is so fluid and there's no teeth behind it that we don't know a lot of things that are happening. But for 9 months, and the reason they did 9 months takes us into the end of, literally the end of next year's session, where before they go away and they don't have to feel the heat in Albany from, say, people coming up to Albany and lobbying, the goal then is to permanently take away so that there's no more concealed carry in New York State. That's why they did 9 months. You say, well, why 9 months from now? Why not 30 days? Why not 60 days till we can get this thing figured out, if there's something to figure out? But no, they just don't want any concealed carry anymore. If you have a concealed carry, that will be good. From what they want to do, for right now, I think it's 3 or 5 years. I'm not even sure because the law is so gray. But I can tell you by the end of next year, if you have one, you'll be grandfathered I'm thinking by May next year, before we get out. What they want to do is give it on a yearly basis. You'll have to go back every year and go through the course and go through the paperwork and everything else that goes with it.
Is that a $500 thing too?
Yes, it is. It's about $450, $500 a year. And then what they're going to try and do is phase that out. So even if you have a concealed carry, that'll be good for maybe, they'll probably put 3 or 5 years. And then after 3 years from now or 5 years from now, it'll be over. There'll be no more concealed carry. Then they'll take it all away. So New York State, there'll be no concealed carry. That's what they
So
want.
basically, they're gonna lock us up
Yeah.
for carrying a legally
More
carried
with all
gun.
our handguns?
Well, that's what they want to get rid of.
Take it to Tennessee with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, the way things are in this country now, you can't run and hide,
No.
because wherever you go, it's changing.
Yeah,
So
so
there's
that's
no
what
running and hiding.
Just telling you, this is
But
what they
I
want.
figured, I'd be better off, they did lock me up, because they'll put me on the street tomorrow where I can carry again.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
By what authority are they using to enforce this? What authority are they using?
State police.
They're using the state police.
Yeah, state police are not an elected position, that's a state entity, the governor controls it, state police.
Yeah, but it's unconstitutional.
Doesn't matter, don't stop with the Constitution, they don't care about the Constitution.
It's an annotated document.
It's an antiquated, I did it on Albany, town center, twice a week, when I'm in Albany, Eddie Goodell from Chautauqua is our floor leader, he's an attorney, and they'll bring up a bill, because remember, every bill that comes to the floor for the last 43 years is Democrat. We're in a minority, so Republicans don't get bills to the floor. The only thing we get is a home rule bill, which is if I wanna dedicate a highway, which I think I had 7 or 8 this year, and they only passed 3, because they don't care about veterans. Anything has to do with our local schools, but in my district. Anything statewide, there hasn't been a Republican name on it in 43 years, just so you
Well, the
understand.
Constitution's dead in New York.
Yeah, it has been for years.
And California.
In California. So Andy Goodell will say, this is unconstitutional, you can't bring it up, he'll cite the law, it's black and white, and they laugh. They say, you know what? And this, I got this on the SAFE Act, my very first day, Matt Tatone from New York City, far left liberal, but probably the funniest guy in the assembly at the time. He sat on the other side, he said, Dave, 1 in 5. And I was like, what's 1 in 5? What's 1 in 5? He goes, you wanna fight this SAFE Act? $1 million in 5 years, that's what it's gonna take you. $1 million in 5 years in court, minimum. Go ahead, we don't care if it's unconstitutional, fight us. We know the courts in New York State are liberal, you got to get it out of New York to a federal court. And that's what they did with all this stuff, so any of them say it, they just laugh, 1 in 5, 1 in 5. And so how many people of all these unconstitutional bills have actually filed a lawsuit and won, and had the money? Not many. So they laugh, they don't believe in the Constitution, it's a racist document, founded by racist founders, who owned slaves. There's no respect for the Constitution. Just, you gotta understand that. So, that's why I'm 50-50 whether we're gonna win any of this. They don't care. Democrats do not care about the Constitution. Name me one Democrat that holds a forum and says, you know what? I'm standing up for you. I'm standing up for your gun rights. Name me one Democrat that ever runs, I'm sorry, but I'm calling the Democrats out. I do all the time now because I'm done with them. Name me a Democrat in Western New York that runs on religious freedom, runs on your kids' autonomy, your right to educate your kids the way you want. Name me one Democrat that runs on your freedom. Name me one Democrat that runs on faith. Name me one Democrat that comes out and says, I'm running on the Constitution. The Constitution says this, and we need to do it. Name me a Democrat. Anybody? Anybody? They run on one issue. They run on one issue. They'll find out, we need more welfare. We're not getting enough welfare. And they run on something. They never run on faith, family, freedom. I want you to understand that. Because I get so many Democrats, I vote the person. No, if you're a registered Democrat, you're part of the problem. Sorry, you could be a Democrat sitting here. I don't vote with the Democrat. Doesn't matter. As long as you're registered, it's power in numbers. If Democrats have this many people and Republicans have this many people, that means they have all power, which they do, in all 3 branches of government in New York State, in the federal government, means everything that Pelosi and Biden and Schumer and AOC does, you accept it 100%. I want to make sure you understand that. You're lockstep with AOC because you're a registered Democrat. That's just the truth. Accept it or not. Tell your Democrat friends, you know what? You support liberalism and communism and socialism? No, I don't. Then get off the line. Register as something else. It doesn't have to be Republican, it can be something else. I try to tell people to understand, it's power in numbers. When they have the numbers, they have the power, they have the control, and they can pass this crap that they're doing now. So I'm off my high horse now. My high blood pressure. My wife says, stay calm. So I try. I'm not doing a good job yet, so I'd rather take your questions because you got those printouts. Let me give you a couple examples. This one doesn't have a bar. Does it have a bar in here?
Yes.
It does have a bar? Okay.
There's that section over there as well.
Well, this isn't a shooting range. If you're a shooting range, Hamburg Gun Club, a lot of them, and you have a bar, if someone, you can no longer carry in the bar, in the club. So you go to the range, you walk in, and you're carrying, and they will automatically give you arrested as a felon, and the bar, your club will get shut down, the SLA will take your liquor license. So just so you understand, that's one thing. Private club, yeah, doesn't matter. Yep. Private club doesn't matter. If it's a shooting club, and there's a bar, and someone walks into the bar with the club, anybody, carrying, doesn't matter if it says you can or cannot carry, there's liquor on the premises, they can shut it down.
How does that effectively say if you were shooting trap?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't
You
matter.
can't bring your gun inside the
You
club.
cannot bring your gun inside the
You
club.
have to lock it in your vehicle.
One person brings their club inside the club with the bar, they can close the whole thing, take your license, and shut you down.
With the enforcement, I know you said the state police, are they like designated like a separate division or something to
No.
enforce this? We know they're spread thin as it is.
They have no idea how they're
They
gonna.
have no idea what they're doing, how to enforce
They
this.
know as much about it as anybody.
The state liquor authority, let me show you something. The state liquor authority is involved also because they're going around now and checking the clubs. Okay, this was a quote, I printed this off because I was, I don't have the date on this, it was just this week. So, the headlines, it says, Governor Hochul to the cops, this is what she told me. This was a memo, an email memo that came from Hochul to the state police. And it said, anyone carrying a firearm is presumed to be carrying unlawfully unless proven otherwise. That's from Hochul. Headlines, they intercepted this. So she told the state police, anyone with a firearm, arrest them. And they're guilty until proven innocent, exact opposite of our country, correct? But that's what she told them, and that's what they're doing. They've already made arrests on this, what are we, September 10th or whatever, I don't know. State police have already made them.
Hey, I have a question.
Little college kids that are state troopers now are turned into traders.
Demons.
A
That's
lot
why
of
all
the
the old
state-
guys are retiring.
Right.
We're retired cops, we know, old guys would have never have done this stuff. Now you got these little kids that are just getting out of college, getting paid $125 a year, which is why they're paying them that kind of money.
Right.
That they could get a Gestapo for the government.
And they want,
They wanted that color, because they were so upset over the election, so.
a lot of them want to prove themselves too, the young ones, they want to prove themselves, I'm gonna make these arrests, but they're gung ho.
Right.
You don't know, yes, sir.
What about like, gun raffles, they have here at the firehouse? They bring long guns, are you talking firearms, just pistols or
No.
handguns? Any firearm, right? And they give beer away, so they got the thing with firearms sitting here to, give away as prizes and selling beer, giving it away over here, so you couldn't do that.
No, I think that's exempt.
It was super cloudy, we had asked that question about, fundraising and that sort of thing, and we did not get a direct answer. We got one of, the same thing we always get from Albany, a directive is, it will be coming forward, we'll let you know. And I think it's gonna depend on where you are, again, back to the enforcement of it. If North Cable Fire Department does their gun raffle and gives out beer and their roast beef, which is an amazing gun raffle, if no one's been here for it, they do an amazing job. I don't think our local law enforcement will mess with them. We're very lucky in Wyoming County to have some, strong conservative values, conservative, authorities in our region. But it doesn't mean that the state police won't make an example. And until we have that directive, I would be very leery of advising anybody one way or the other on that currently.
When it comes to the booze aspect, I'd be more worried about the state liquor authority, because they're a weaponized branch of the governor, and they're out now. So when it comes to that, bringing alcohol with, but now here's the thing, with a lot of gun raffles now, what they're doing is taking the box, they don't have the actual firearm, or a big printout of what it is, and they'll take it around, instead of, it used to be, here's the Mossberg, $5 a chance, whatever. And now it's just a picture of it, or the box, so they really can't, the firearm's not there. So that's one way to get around that, and then you go, if you win it, then you go see the dealer and you go.
Well, that's kind of my question, Keith here does a lot of raffles.
Right.
And what if, could the guns stay out in I wouldn't want them sitting out in the vehicle either, because they gotta be a lockbox locked up, right?
Right, got this
Waterproof.
vault
So,
sort of
yeah.
trailer to bring with you.
Yeah, so, what you just said about, guns in your car, they can't be in the glove compartment. There's a gray area, which I was talking to a dealer about. We're looking into it, it says it has to be secured in your car. And what they're talking now is, let's say you've got a plastic case, that should be good, but there's some question that whatever it is in your car has to be bolted to the car. Now, there's not even a state trooper or sheriff that has anything bolted in the car, they put it in a box in your glove compartment, in the trunk. But now there's some question about whether or not that's, you know, I did hear that it's okay still to carry it, put it in a locked case in your car, could be a plastic case or whatever.
Well, the case has to be according to the law, it has to be tamper resistant, fireproof, and impact resistant.
And what?
Impact resistant. All right, it
And
cannot
on the
be
site.
on the site.
So,
It has to be, secured either with a keypad, or key lock, or a combination lock. Any rifle, any gun in your car.
Any transported firearm. Any transported firearms.
You're gonna have to use a cable. You're gonna have to use a
How
cable.
about if you were transporting a firearm on a motorcycle? Everyone talks about cars, I ride everywhere, all the time.
That's a good question. I mean, if you have a saddlebag, it's on a site, it could be locked in a saddlebag, right? I don't know, I don't
Does
know.
that mean it's illegal to have a pistol in your waistband?
No, if you've got your concealed carry permit, you should be able to carry it.
You're still legal to ride with the pistol?
Yes. Matter of fact, if you can't secure your firearm in your vehicle, it's, from what I understand, it's okay. If you have your concealed carry, you have it on you. Okay, then it's legal. Keep it on you. So if they stop you and it's on you, it's actually legal.
What about state water?
State parks are absolutely illegal to have any rifle, pistol, and and no pistols allowed
Any
in
state
one.
park.
Any park.
Yeah. New York State.
Money in is just a big cripple. What about the VFW post in the American Legions? We got guns in there all the time, even for honor guards. So are they saying that they're all illegal?
They're trying to make a card up, but from what I understand,
I mean,
it's illegal. That's from what I understand. Unless there, again, unless there's a sign, make sure they put a sign up.
yeah,
But they also have alcohol in those.
but they also got alcohol.
I know.
That's our restaurants have alcohol in it.
I'm just saying, that's the gray area that again, they don't wanna take that on, that they're trying to figure a way around it, so I don't know. Again, I'm not gonna tell you it's legal, I'm not gonna tell you it's not, because again, everything in this law, when they put it together, they called us up back in the session, end of June into July, and said, we're pissed at what happened, the Democrats said, we're pissed at what happened, we're gonna go with all these new gun laws, and we went back on a Monday, and there was nothing there. So a lot of people went home, because we knew they hadn't even started writing it, even though Hope called us in, we gotta come back in, there was nothing going on. So some of our conference, the Democrats are in conference all day trying to hammer out the laws we have now, the New York City leftists were putting all this together. But Republicans in our conference, a lot went home, but about a dozen or so were just up there and went, okay, well, maybe tomorrow morning we'll get something. They were there until Friday, every day, 12, 14 hours, sitting in chambers by themselves, with nothing every day. Because Hochul called in because she was so, because the left went wild because the Supreme Court struck it down. And so just on the road, she called everybody in, right there on the 4th of July.
So then what happens
For
if
no
they get to
reason.
stay on this? What happens if they get to stay on this, it goes up to the Supreme Court, they say, okay, no, this is no good.
And all goes away, whatever parts. I have a feeling half of this is gonna stay, I don't know what half, but I don't think they're gonna just take this whole law and strike it down, they never do. They're gonna probably say that some of this is good, but they're gonna do,
If Zeldin gets in, he can wipe it clean.
yes.
How can you do that? Over
Executive
legislature?
orders, you can
You're
tell
gonna
the
take your
state
branch.
police, just tell state police we're not, and the DAs, we're not gonna be, we're not prosecuting any of this.
But it's a law, David. Get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, we have a process in our government, right? So you guys have made a law, all right? Now the law has been struck down by a higher court, all right? So now, you guys either have to fix that law or disband the law. If we have a Governor Zeldin come in, What makes it right for him as an executive branch to say to the state troopers and to the district attorneys, we are not going to enforce the laws of the state that you all put in place, that the courts haven't struck down yet, okay? That's, again, that's a workaround process.
Okay.
And
That goes with anything.
That's the way it has been.
Unemployment fraud, you can't do unemployment fraud, but yet New York State said that anyone last year, that anyone that gets caught with unemployment fraud who during COVID applied for assistance and legally wasn't allowed to get it, but they got it, they don't have to pay it back. They skirted that law, you don't have to pay it back, that equals about $3 billion that was frauded from New York State, and they're saying, they do it all the time.
I get it, but it's not, but that's part of the problem, that's what I'm getting at. We're allowing bureaucrats, and I see it all the time. Somebody will say, oh, I don't like that guy, he's not getting a permit. Well, wait a minute, he's a part of the public, whether you like him or you don't like him, whether he said F you on something, right? You don't have the power as a bureaucrat to say, oh, yes, I do. You really don't.
Well, look at this law. One part is the Facebook social media, do you understand that? They're putting in a czar, they haven't done it yet, but there's gonna be a czar and a branch of government, a division, that's gonna look at, as you apply, or have applied, for concealed carry now for any firearm, they're gonna look at all your social media. We want access to your Facebook, Twitter account, everything. And if you said something that they deem harmful, not only can they deny you, but they can come in and take all your firearms. Now, who's gonna make that decision? As the #1 conservative in New York State, who Hochul just said to get out, to get out of this state. Have you ever heard of, I don't even know the real name, the Southern Law Journal down in Southern Law, whatever it is, right? That far left communist organization that attacks every Southern poverty, yeah, that attacks everybody and goes after conservatives. They want to use that as one of their criteria. Did you know I'm a domestic terrorist according to them? Yeah. So that's what they use. Oh, on the Southern Poverty Law Justice bull crap, they've got you down as a domestic terrorist, Dave. You know what? Sorry, we're coming in. Open that gun safe. We want everything. We got your permit, your registrations here. We want everything. Who are you?
Well, look at the safe act.
Yeah. So this is the stuff, you want, it goes on all the time, especially in Albany. They pass this crap all the time, they enforce what they want, they don't enforce what they want, and they tell us on the floor, we're not gonna do it, we're gonna do this. It's unconstitutional, it doesn't matter. We're not gonna enforce it. They tell us we're not gonna
Why
enforce it.
why does it matter to vote then?
It doesn't matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but it's New York State. 70% liberal over here. Name me a victory. That's where I've gotten upset in the last couple of years. We fight and we fight and we fight, and we get burned out from the SAFE Act. I went around the state for a year plus on the SAFE Act, holding rallies and getting people motivated and saying, we gotta take the governor out. There's an excellent chance, there's 5 million gun owners. Let's get them out to vote. Cuomo got, 3.4 million votes, and Astorino got like 2.8 or something, I forget the numbers. You know how many gun owners came out after all the rallies on the SAFE Act? The #1 county up north with the highest percentage of gun owners had the lowest voter turnout.
Why is that though?
5 million, 5.1 or 2 million gun owners. You know how many gun owners came out? About 400,000. We could swamp every election. And the gun owners don't vote. 80% of you in here own a gun, technically aren't gonna vote.
Do machines count the votes here in New York?
Thank you.
I wish they would go back to the old.
Exactly. Let's get rid of the machines and I bet you'll see a change in the vote numbers.
Do you think all these people that ran to get their permits might go and vote now?
I don't know.
What about, if you're going hunting and throw your, rifle or whatever in your truck and go hunt like you normally do?
In your truck or trunk?
Trunk, car, whatever. On a 4-wheeler, out
to the woods and you gotta go down the road a little ways on your four-wheeler and you got a rifle that's not loaded.
You've gotta have it
Oh, it's not.
safely stored. It's just on the back of your four-wheeler and not pulling it over yourself. You're felony.
And what about if I go and I have it in the back of my truck and I have the bullets in my glove box?
That's okay. If it's in the truck and it's concealed, it's fine. But if it's, again, the days of like, when I was in school, you'd have you'd have it on the back of your pickup truck in the winter, you'd have it on the gun rack. That was good. You can't do that.
Go pheasant hunting afterwards.
You put your
I was
22
born
right
in
in the
'64, Dave, that's not that long ago.
I was born in 60.
15 years ago, so I was legal to shoot when I was 16, so 79, I was still allowed to take a shotgun in school, put it in my locker, and go pheasant hunting afterwards.
Now it's 21.
Niagara
By
County.
fire. It's 21.
I took my hunter safety course at Warsaw School in the basement, and we shot down there in the range. And we had to shoot in order to get our hunter safety course, so.
Still there.
And, Ed does,
Chairs, but it's still there.
Ed, give us on, the 16-hour course, you said, who's available now to teach that?
Okay, right now, and, nobody has stepped up in Wyoming County. There is one person in Erie County supposedly who stepped up. I don't know, this was as of, Tuesday, this past week. By talking with the state police and that, everybody who was in corrections that was a weapons training officer, their credentials, as long as they were, current past, 2017, will be, eligible to teach that. However, the issuing agency, the county, or whoever it is, the judge or the sheriff, they're gonna have to improve the instructors. So you're gonna have to come up, the state came up with minimum guidelines for the course, and I believe Dave has copies of it back there. And there's a range portion, you're actually gonna have to shoot. It's kind of ludicrous, you gotta go out and shoot 5 rounds, from 12 feet away and hit a 23 and a half by 11 inch target, and 4 of the 5 have to hit the target.
That's everybody that owns a permit.
Well, that's just it, you're going to do this through the training. And this is part of the training, there's 2 hours of the training set up, 5 for range training, and there's 16 hours on classroom stuff.
I will say this, it's not that hard, because as a Boy Scout instructor, the best shooters I ever had were kids that never held a pistol before.
Absolutely.
When you're right
They were the
handed and
best
left
shot.
dominant.
But you have to do that with
No,
each
no.
individual gun that you have.
Well, here's the thing about that. If you've got, here's the thing. Are you gonna be number one, you don't have your permit, so you technically cannot handle a firearm.
It's in the
Okay,
law, it's
so are
in
you
the law
gonna-
for training. For training purposes, you can handle the gun without a permit.
Your
But
gun-
technically, legal in New York State, you go into a gun shop, you come into my place, you pick up a pistol, you don't have a permit, that's illegal. So I open it up and show you this weapon is safe and clear, now I am teaching, so now it's legal for you to have that, because that's part of teaching. And that's the only way that you can explain that. That's how screwy the laws are.
So here's what I'm trying to get at is, which it's still a gray area, I don't know this answer, is when you go to take the course, you don't own, am I gonna get trained, let's say I didn't have my pistol permit, would I be getting trained, number one, on the training pistol, not the one that I'm gonna buy, that I'm gonna have? Am I getting trained on a standard, something that they have? Is it gonna be airsoft? Are you able to actually fire a live round without your permit? Or is it gonna be some
No,
airsoft?
you can shoot live rounds or sims, which are basically shooting chalk
Okay.
at target. The instructor has to keep the targets for 5 years. In case you come back to inspect them. You have to take a test at the end of the training, you get 80% on the test. And the instructor has to keep that for 5 years.
Hey, Ed, on any gun that you own, you have to?
No, you have to get this, in order to get this training, to get your permit.
So
Any
what are you
dealer who-
trained on? Are you gonna,
It
on a block, on my
doesn't
my
matter.
45, my.
Whatever the guy
Remington?
decides to run on the training, however they decide that, the law, the way the law is written in the state police answer, they can use what they want, and they can charge what they want for the training.
How does the research work?
The research for your, right now, you do not need training for research unless you're in New York City, Westchester County, Nassau, or Suffolk. Their permits expired. Ours up here do not expire. Their permits expired every 5 years. Now they're gonna expire every 3 years. So their permits in those counties expire. So they have to re-certify for it. It's just like as a dealer in New York State, and there's other dealers in the room, they'll tell you. You become a dealer, you fill out basically the same forms you do for pistol permit, fingerprints, mug shots, all of that. You get that. 3 years later, you have to recertify, you get your recertification, you fill out the forms, but you don't need mug shots or fingerprints. 3 years later, you gotta go through the whole thing, you gotta get re-fingerprinted, because I can understand mug shot, I could, okay, I'm gonna change. I've changed a lot in the last 3 years. My fingerprints have been the same since 1977, when I got my concealed carry permit. That's how ludicrous the laws in New York State are written.
So that's only for New York City, that every 3 years, right?
Every 3 years for New York City, we still have to, in this area, we have to renew our pistol permits every 3 years now.
Oh,
It's not
that's
every
right.
5
Yeah,
years.
we have to read it.
It's not 5 anymore, it's every 3. If you